Formal logic is one of the backbones of the LSAT, and it's becoming more and more important in the LSAT logical reasoning section now that LSAT can no longer test these concepts in logic games, since of course there is no more logic games on the LSAT. So today I'll break down conditional reasoning for you, or formal logic, step by step. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now on the LSAT is testing formal logic in ways that may feel unnatural at first. That's because most of us have never been trained to think in these terms formally. It's a bit like learning geometry. You've seen shapes are all around you, you know what circles and triangles and squares are, but putting it all into formulas in a math class may feel awkward at first. But the good news is, with practice, it clicks. At least I hope it did. And once it does click, you notice formal logic showing up everywhere on the LSAT, even in reading comprehension. So mastering this is not optional if you want a top LSAT score. And by the way, if you do want to score 170 or above, my team and I would be glad to help you out. At LSAT Unplugged, we offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. You can check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. Now let's walk through one of the trickiest setups you'll ever see in LSAT formal logic, the word unless. Because it's not just about sufficient conditions and necessary conditions. There are strange words like unless, except, until, and without that are a bit different in nature than what you may have seen with straightforward sufficient and necessary conditions. Here's how you can translate these annoying, tricky words into a simple if-then statement. Whatever comes after the word unless is the necessary condition, and then everything else gets negated and becomes the sufficient condition. So for example, if we had a sentence saying, unless you study, you won't pass the test, that means the necessary condition is you study, the sufficient condition becomes you pass. So the statement, unless you study, you won't pass the test, becomes if you pass, then you must have studied. In other words, studying is a necessary condition for passing the test. If you didn't study, you weren't going to pass. This formula works every single time. Once you memorize it, you'll never have to second guess yourself when you see any of these statements containing, again, the words unless, except, until, or without. Now, let's talk about chains. A conditional chain is when you have multiple statements that link together because they contain common terms across them. So for example, if we have a statement saying A requires B, another statement saying B requires C, you can then infer A requires C. This is, of course, simple enough with an example like that, but LSAC loves to throw in negative variables to test your understanding. So for example, if we had a different example with A requires B as one statement and a separate statement saying not C requires not B, at first, they might not seem connected because there's no common variable with the same truth value, meaning we have B in one sentence, but we have not B in the other sentence. So in order to link these together, we first have to take the contrapositive of the second statement. So not C requires not B now becomes B requires C. Now you can link them smoothly into a chain A requires B requires C. This is why recognizing the same term in multiple statements is so important. It's like putting puzzle pieces together. And once you see the chain, you can easily answer questions about it. Now, where are these formal logic questions going to show up in the LSAT? You're going to see them, of course, in LSAT logical reasoning. There are certain specific question types where these are most likely to show up. In particular, inference questions like must be true, but you may also see them in sufficient assumption questions and also in parallel reasoning questions. So if you're struggling with these question types, there may be a gap in your understanding of formal logic. So I do recommend brushing up in this area if you're struggling with those particular question types. Now, the examples I've covered today, in particular the unless formula and dealing with multiple conditional statements, this is all learnable. The key is practice. The more you work with these concepts, the more natural it's going to feel. Of course, you don't want to be reinventing the wheel on LSAT test day itself. If you see a question involving formal logic, you want to know exactly how to approach it and solve it with confidence because every single point on the LSAT matters, especially when these points can translate into significant scholarship money, possibly even a full ride. And so if you'd like my help on your journey to mastering formal logic or anything else on the LSAT, check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And in the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.